Hi folks, Chef Jeff here from Fox Valley Technical College, and I just want to thank the folks from the committee running the Great Lakes Aquaculture Day for inviting me to participate in your seminar this year. Of course, during this time of COVID, we're all finding different ways to get the job done, and the innovation and the different technologies are all coming together, and I hope this conference is going to be very special for all of you who are attending. I also want to thank the folks from Superior Fresh for getting me the probably the best salmon I've ever eaten in my life, shipped overnight along with some beautiful fresh greens. So thank you for your support. As a chef that's been a lifelong resident of the state of Wisconsin, I'm very proud to be part of the seminar featuring farm-raised fish here in Wisconsin, and as always promoting our great Wisconsin products. So I hope you enjoy the videos that we put together for you, and I'll be live a little bit later to do some question and answer with you. Thank you very much, and as always, go out and make it a great day.
Well, Chef Jeff, it is official. I'm ready for dinner. That was fantastic, and those recipes sounded absolutely wonderful. Jeff, if you want to turn your video on and unmute your mic, we've got some folks here with some questions for you. Got a couple different ones coming in, but before that, I just want to say thank you so much. Those recipes were just absolutely fantastic.
Oh, it was my pleasure. My wife and I enjoyed doing those. We started doing a lot of videos when COVID started and we all got sequestered, and we enjoyed doing them. So thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, no problem. So the first question that we have, fish, if we look at the statistics, is something that people normally eat in restaurants and not as often at home. So how can we make fish and seafood more approachable for consumers, do you think?
Well, I listened to a little bit of the last session, and the word needs to reach the consumers about how the quality and the availability of Wisconsin farm-raised products. And I've been doing this a long time. I've been a chef. The gray is real, my friends. So I'm not a kid anymore, and this is the only career I've ever had. And I don't have a need to suck up to anybody. But I'll have to say that the fish that we got from Superior Fresh is probably the best salmon I've ever eaten. Best salmon I've ever cooked with. It was just so fresh and firm and flavorful. Didn't have like a muddy or a strong taste at all. I mean, it was really good. And so we have to knock down the barriers that people are afraid to cook at home, and they're afraid to spend the money on it because they think they're going to screw it up. So there's a little bit of training that might have to happen, or at least give them some little enhancements. And I'm not trying to do this for self-promotion, but I tried to keep my videos at 4 minutes because otherwise you lose people. They get bored with you, And so I think there's a lot of that, just showing people how easy it was to do. Now, I'm a cook by profession, so I don't know if those videos, I'd like to ask the people who are with us in the audience. I mean, to me, they were relatively quick preparations. I had to do a little bit of setup to do the video, but it was really minimal. I mean, it took very little time to put them together and get them in the oven. And, I think convenience is a big part of today's life as well for the consumers, because why is to-go food and takeout and drive-through and all that so popular? It's because of convenience. So if we can convince people that, hey, you can get a nutritious, delicious, high-quality product you can make at home, and I don't want to rip on the restaurant industry because I'm a part of it, but I mean, it's legitimately, making it at home is a fraction of the price. So it's a long answer maybe to your question, but I think there's some real opportunities to help the consumers help themselves.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. That ease of access. There's no other meat that you can pull out of your freezer and pop it under the broiler frozen, and it'll be done in about 5 minutes, right? It's quick. When you talk about quick, it's quick.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. Although I'm very biased, to be able to get it fresh like we do, and we do have the availability to cook fresh seafood. So, but yeah, there are a lot of people who are cooking it from frozen. You're right.
Yeah, so that's a good point, though. We've got another question here. You're talking about another access point is make sure it's high quality seafood so it tastes really good. Do you have any tips on selecting seafood like at a grocery store or a fish market? What are you looking for when you're looking for a high quality fillet or a nice other type of seafood?
Well, I'd like to answer that question as if I was just Joe Consumer. I think the first thing that consumers look for is is it eye appealing? Does it look good? How fresh is it? And I think that's kind of key because, different people, different entities have different standards for the definition of fresh. I have read and heard that in some places, 10 days out of the water is still considered fresh. Well, I think we could all, maybe make our own decisions on that. Seems like a long time out of the water to me. So what was the carbon footprint? How fast did it get from its origin to where I see it in the counter, or I see it available, or how fast was it frozen or shrunk wrapped so that it's now available to me in a quality manner? And I think that that's really important, and it's really part of the message. I think it's part of the message. I can't be the only one when I go to the grocery store as a retail consumer that looks at the dates on the packages. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people do. Just this week I bought a pack of chicken, and of course I looked at the dates because do you want to get something that's on its last day? Because that means it's been hanging around for a while. So I think that's really important, is how fresh is it, and what then what are we going to do with it? How soon are we going to cook it from the time we purchase it?
Yeah, and that's one of the great things about our local aquaculture farms is we can get those products a lot of times fresh, where seafood from farther away, it might be hard to get fresh. And then with the frozen products, it seems like there's a lot of that individual vacuum sealed flash frozen stuff that does help to preserve a lot of the quality if you're going to go with a frozen product. But I have heard to avoid the top shelf sometimes that thaws in a freezer, and look for the ice crystals on the fillet to make sure there's no freezer burn. Is that accurate too?
Well, I don't know about that in my freezer. I haven't noticed it. I mean, I'm very vigilant about turning over my inventory so that I'm not eating old food constantly. I'm vigilant about defrosting my freezer. That I don't want to keep thumping Superior Fresh, but I got to tell you that when we got that shipment, my wife and I got that shipment, I would like to know how fresh that was, because it was absolutely incredible. And by the time, I'm trying to think what day I received it, and we did the videos on the weekend, I think I probably had it in my cooler, my refrigerator, probably no more than 2 days. But it was really, really special, really special. And for those of you out there who are like hesitant to try different things, I don't know if those videos are appealing to you or not, but I'll tell you, my son this summer, he went trout fishing on Lake Michigan, and he caught several trout. He didn't know what to do with them. And so I kind of came up with that smoked salmon dip recipe or spread, whatever you want to call it. And that is really, really good. When I made this for the video, it was a Packer day, so I smoked it in the morning. I made the dip right before kickoff, and I took a small container to a couple different neighbors. And the neighbors to the south here, they said, "Jeff, we were eating that before you got out of our yard." So, if those are the kind of things that you enjoy, make them, because not everybody makes that stuff. And I was kind of cavalier in the video as I watched it with you guys just now about, making it into cat food. I'm kind of picky about that. If you've got a premium product, now I use the tails, which is not the nicest part of the fish, right? I use the other ones for roasting for dinner. But when you smoke that up, you're still dealing with a premium product. Why are you going to maul it all up and turn it into something that has the texture that's just, and I've never eaten cat food. I want to just say it for the record, but you understand what I'm saying with the texture thing. It's all kind of nappy, and yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
That's a good segue. Actually, we have an audience question that is, are there any particular cuts or sections of fish that are better than others? So you're saying that the tail is a little bit thinner, and the middle part maybe is a little better for like a steak or something, fish steak.
Yeah, I mean, it's all salmon. It tastes like salmon from end to end. There's no question about that. But what happens is because it tapers. and you get these really nice consistent portions. I'm still in a restaurant state of mind. I think about putting a portion in front of someone. If you got 4 people around the table, people will instinctively, when the plates go down, they will instinctively look around the table and look at everybody else's. So if you have 4 people eating kind of the same thing, they should get kind of the same product. And whenever I've gone into a restaurant, and I often order seafood because I do love it. If I get a tail section, the first thing that goes in my head is like, thank you for choosing me. Because that, I'm not saying it's inferior, it just tapers down, and it doesn't cook as consistently as the rest of the fish. So when I do things with the students at school, we'll do some lox and gravlax and different things. I will often take off the tail section and do other things with it. And it makes it sound like I'm turning it into the ugly stepsister. And I really don't mean to do that. It doesn't cook as consistently as the rest.
Right. So it's a thinner part of the fish. You just got to be aware that it might cook faster or something. So, yeah.
But it's true of every animal. The pork chops are not consistent from one end of the loin to the other, and things like that. So it's just learning your product and what do you do with it. And that's why, I felt a little bit like the mad scientist. So I got this salmon shipped to me. I'm like, all right, what am I going to make? I'm going to take these sections and do this. I'm going to take these sections and do this. And then I convert it over. And, I enjoyed this. I appreciate the opportunity. It's fun. This is what we do for a living. So